One of the things I love about magic is it reminds us life is filled with surprises. Now, some surprises are big surprises, and still other surprises are these little tiny baby surprises, and still other surprises are these everyday average run-of-the-mill surprises. Now the question becomes, when we're faced with these surprises, how do we respond? Do we respond with the default choice of getting frustrated and giving up? Or to respond by design in choosing fascination to build ourselves up? Now I would suggest that if we choose fascination, we realize that every opportunity is an equal opportunity to create amazing experiences and positive results for ourselves. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. We're going to continue this two-part series on staying positive even while dealing with negative surprises in life, whether through people or through circumstances. We're going to continue our discussion on choosing fascination over frustration, on how to respond to situations. And we're also going to talk about the difference between being nice and being kind, as well as how to respond if playing nice and being kind doesn't work. Let's get started. Well, hello and welcome to Positivity Now, the show that focuses on all things positive. I'm your host, Jonas Cain, and I'm excited about today's episode because we're wrapping up this two-part series on how to think, be, and stay positive even when dealing with negative attitudes and negative behaviors and situations, on how to respond to surprises in a way that builds up rather than tears down. Now, last time we ended by talking about the importance of staying fascinated rather than frustrated. Because when we're frustrated, we may want a better future, we want better outcomes, but we're not willing to do anything about it. We just want to complain about it. Whereas when we're fascinated, it has a natural curiosity. We ask questions, we become detectives, we want to get to the bottom of things, where we see things not just for how they are, but for how things could be. We talked also about an example about how we have these simple choice points where we can choose to let a negative situation become transferred to our own attitudes, which affects our behaviors, which turns to other folks, or we can choose instead to stop that cycle. And I believe that the way to stop that cycle is by making that more positive and proactive choice. One way to help us when we're in the thick of things is our natural response is to get frustrated and complain. So we have to have these little reminders for ourselves. What I do when I'm at my home or at my office, I have these positive quotes and I have these beautiful pictures hanging around my office. And whenever I start to get frustrated, I just look at it. I just make it a habit. When I start to feel myself going, I just look at these things and I calm down. I also carry with me in my wallet, I carry a little meaningful memento. It's a special coin that has meaning to me, but by looking at it, it helps ground me and recenter me in the moment so I can remember to choose fascination over frustration. Now, this is all well and good for ourselves to stop the cycle of negativity, but what if it's someone else? Someone else that perhaps we work with. Maybe it's someone in our family. Maybe it's someone at school or in the community that we see every day and we spend a lot of time with, and they are consistently and routinely negative in one way or another. How do we deal with that? We have a simple choice here, and it's really one of two choices. We can respond to this with a strategy of being nice, or we can respond with the strategy of being kind. Now the difference is, it's subtle. They sound the same at face value, but when we dive deeper, there is a difference. The nice person tends to sweep problems under the rug, to avoid confrontation. Now, which at best this ignores the problem, and at worst it just enables the negative behavior. The kind person, by contrast, the kind person demonstrates genuine care by making the individual aware of the effects of their negative attitude and negative behavior, of how it's affecting the other people around them. Now, choosing to be kind opens the door of communication. Well, choosing to be nice, I would suggest, closes the door of communication, which can serve to tear down the situation. Now, whether we're dealing with a friend, family member, community member, coworker, every minute that we spend time with someone who's negative is a minute taken away from spending time with someone that we can have more positive relations with. Now the question becomes, how do we confront these people in a way that truly is kind? Because to truly be kind, we have to create this connection with them that truly demonstrates that we care. And the best way to do this, we already talked about it, staying fascinated. Fascinating as it asks questions. And when we ask questions, it could be something as simple as, I noticed that you've been acting really frustrated lately. You could even use that word, frustrated. You've been acting negative in one way or another. What's really going on? Is there something I can help you with? Now, this does two things. Number one, it helps you to gather information from them if they're willing to share. But number two, it signals in a subconscious way to the other person that you care enough about them and the people around them to ask. People who care are curious. People who care ask questions and want to know how they can help. So this has two benefits. One, it helps you address the situation and get to know what's really going on. And it also lets the other person know that you are truly on their side. Now, this doesn't mean they're going to respond in kind. In fact, sometimes they're going to respond with even more negativity. But you won't know unless you first ask. So now the question becomes, how do we address? Let's say they don't respond in kind. Let's say you tried being kind, it didn't go so well. Well, this is when we have the responsibility to distance ourselves from these folks. Now, this does not mean that we do something drastic like cutting off our friends, divorcing our family. It doesn't mean these drastic measures. Now, it might mean that. It might mean that in certain situations that can be valid, but all it means is setting healthy boundaries so that we can become in control of when and how and for how long we interact with these folks. Meanwhile, we can start seeking out more positive interactions with other people. We mentioned in the last episode about how important it is to surround yourself with the right kind of people, because we tend to become who we spend the most of our time with. And if the people in our lives who are negative are not willing to change because they don't mind tearing other people down, well, we have the responsibility to limit our interactions with them while exposing ourselves to more positive interactions. There's a quote by the author Zig Ziglar, and he says, "When you choose to be pleasant and positive in the way you treat others, you have also chosen, in most cases, how you are going to be treated by others." And I believe this is true. Choosing to return negativity, instead of returning it with negativity, but returning it instead with acts of kindness. This acts as a signal to letting others know how you yourself want to be treated, while also highlighting the comparatively toxic behavior of those who are less than positive. By refusing to fuel the negativity, kindness has the opportunity to begin to turn the situation into a much more positive one. And by doing this, we're able to think, be, and stay positive even while dealing with negative people, negative situations, attitudes, and behaviors. Well, that's it for today's episode, and that's it for this two-part series on thinking, being, and staying positive, even while dealing with difficult people and situations. We hope you've enjoyed it. As always, if you have any questions, be sure to check out our website, positivitymagic.com. Until next time, my name is Jonas Cain. Stay positive.